Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome back to another episode of the Networking RX podcast. My name is Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections, and your host for this episode. Today, I want to start with a story. I want to talk about back when I was first starting in the private practice of law. Again, for a recap of who I am and where I'm at. If you want the detail, go to episode 000, the very first episode. I give a detailed overview of my history. But just a quick recap, I came to Columbus, Ohio to go to law school, got a law degree and an MBA from Ohio State, left and started working for a big firm, and then ended up in private practice. And when I was in private practice, I really had to network to try and grow my business. It's no different than most of you out there trying to grow a business. I had to do certain things to make it happen. And about 6 months into it, I got an invitation to visit the Ohio Business Brokers Association. Actually, it was a referral to speak to them, and then I had the opportunity to join the Ohio Business Brokers Association. Just a little more detail, the type of law that I practiced, I was a business attorney. I helped, among other things, help people buy and sell businesses. So being with the Ohio Business Brokers Association, I felt would be a great move for me. I didn't think twice about it. I joined. Just a little insight. Business brokers, what they do, they're much like realtors. They help people buy and sell businesses, just like realtors help people buy and sell houses. So they're brokers. They're brokers between buyers and sellers. So I joined the organization. It was a monthly organization. I went to its monthly meeting. And I remember after about 2 years of being in the organization, I've got a notice that I needed to pay dues for a third year, and I remember talking to my wife about it and telling her that, you know what, I am done. I am not going to participate in this organization any longer. I had been involved for 2 years, and in those 2 years, nothing had happened. I went to every monthly meeting, and nothing happened. To be honest, people didn't even know who I was. People would refer to me as, if I was lucky, they would call me counselor. Generally speaking, everyone just kind of referred to me as buddy. And here's the little tip. If people are calling you buddy and your name's not buddy, it's not a good thing. So I committed to one more meeting. I was going to go one more meeting. It was my last meeting. And coincidentally, lucky enough for me that at that meeting, there was a question that was raised, and the question was, hey, this organization, the Ohio Business Brokers Association, it is a 6-year-old organization, and it has grown, and things have happened, and the people who were there were not certain that the organizational structure of what they had put together was keeping pace with what they had actually become. And so they really wanted to kind of look at the legalities of everything. Have we done all the right things? Have we crossed all the T's we need to cross and dotted all the I's we need to dot? A very legalistic conversation. As I was sitting there, the president looked over at me and asked me if I would head up a committee to look into this and make sure we were doing all the right things. Not being one to say no, I agreed to get on this committee. Which meant that I had to pay dues and sign on for another year. Very interesting conversation telling my wife how things had changed from morning till later in the evening when I was on for another year with the Ohio Business Brokers Association. At any rate, I got on this committee and things immediately started to change. All of a sudden, I wasn't Buddy anymore. I was Frank. People had gotten to know me. They knew I was heading up this committee, and to a degree, it was important to them. And so they'd gotten to know me. And it happened slowly, but it happened quickly. They started to like me. Certainly the people on the committee I'd gotten to know, they started to realize that, you know what, I'm just another business person like them. They're selling brokerage services, I'm selling legal services, but at the end of the day, we're still business people. And we all have mortgages, and we all have kids and wives and people we answer to, and electricity bills and cars to pay for. And, when you start to realize that people have common situations, it's hard not to start to like people. And they started to like me. And I would come to meetings and give my reports, and I was frank, and I was doing something of value to the organization. And then it happened slowly, but it certainly happened in time, and that was they got to trust me. And it happened slowly. It didn't happen right away. It happened where some of the brokers would call me and say, we're working on a deal, and here's the situation. They already have attorneys, but something doesn't seem right here. What do you think? And I'd give them my best advice. They wouldn't get a bill, obviously. They weren't clients. But I'd give them my best advice. And you do that a few times, and people start to get comfortable with you, and then all of a sudden I was starting to get clients out of it. I'd have brokers call and say, hey, I've got somebody, they're looking to buy this particular business, they don't have an attorney. Or I've got a client, they're looking to sell a particular business, and their attorney really is not versed in that. And so I would pick up clients out of it. In fact, what ended up happening was ultimately I left the practice of law to basically take on the role as the founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections. And so I put my law license on hold, or in inactive status is the technical term. But I put my law license on hold, and 2 years after that, I was still getting calls from brokers trying to refer me business. And it all stemmed from that moment when I agreed to get on this committee and help them with the legal aspects of the Ohio Business Brokers Association. And to this day, 20 plus years later, that organization is still moving forward. It's still moving forward with the documents that, along with the other people on the committee, put into place. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this story. There's obviously a point to the story. We've all been there in an effort to bolster our high school or collegiate transcripts. We embark on this mission of belonging to as many clubs and organizations as we can possibly do. The science club, cross country team, student council, just to name a few organizations. And this can be a reasonably successful strategy for getting into college. It can be a great strategy for landing that first job, trying to bolster that resume, kind of pad it up. After all, coupled with decent grades, the listing of extracurriculars makes one seem really well-rounded. But simply belonging to a litany of organizations is really of limited value once you're out of school and into the real world. The problem is that just belonging, which was very descriptive of my first 2 years in the Ohio Business Brokers Association, just belonging's not very effective for developing a productive network. To make our memberships work, the foundation of a productive network, it's built on, as I've gone over time and again here, it's built on a mutual knowing, liking, and trusting of one another, and that's required for developing a solid relationship. And loose affiliations or just belonging aren't going to work. So to make your memberships in whatever organizations it might be an organization like AmSpirit Business Connections, it might be being on the PTA or PTO of your kid's school, it might be in church. To make these memberships meaningful experiences, you need to avoid just belonging, and certainly, or just belonging to a lot of different organizations. You need to limit your affiliations. This is a case where less is more. Limit your affiliations and become more involved with the ones that you stay involved with. So in other words, with time constraints being what they are, you need to get more involved with fewer organizations or fewer commitments. Now, there's no hard and fast rule regarding the appropriate number of organizations in which you should be involved. The general rule is belong to only as many organizations as you can provide sufficient involvement too. What clubs and organizations you choose to become involved with is personal to you. We all have different interests. I always tell people, find something that you're interested in, something that you can get invested in. Just don't do it because it seems to make sense, or it's because there might be a lot of business there. Do something that you're passionate about, something that you're going to have an interest in. In summary, an organization in which you join should be one in which you're interested enough to have a sufficient involvement. This certainly begs the question, what constitutes sufficient involvement? There are certainly many levels of involvement, as many levels of involvement as there are organizations probably. Certainly on the one extreme, you could be the person who is the creator or founder of the club or organization, and that might be a little bit beyond what you want. And perhaps you're not that ambitious, but still your involvement should rise to a level of being sufficient. And that could come in the form of serving as an officer, a committee chair, or a board member. It just depends. It depends on the organization and what opportunities are there. If that's your choice of involvement, something at an officer level, you need to choose the position that best complements your talents and allows you to fulfill your obligations to the best of your abilities. And sufficient involvement, however, doesn't necessarily require something as formal as being a founder or an officer. It could just be contributing in a supporting role to some of the people who are in the organization. In fact, involvement could be as simple as being around and mingling before and after meetings. Whatever the choice of your involvement is, the test of sufficiency is simple. You need to ask yourself this with respect to whatever club or organization you've joined. If you weren't at the meeting, would you be missed? And if your answer is yes, then your involvement is sufficient. If, however, your answer is no, you're not involved enough. So, for example, back to the Ohio Business Brokers Association, in those first 2 years, if I didn't attend a meeting, I wasn't going to be missed. Nobody cared about Buddy. Once I got involved, however, when I happened to miss a meeting, and I didn't miss many, people wondered where I was at. I was sufficiently involved. So when you become involved, you become a familiar face. They get to know you. They get to like you because they realize that you're committed to something that they're committed to. And it might be of great importance to them or a little bit of importance to them. It's important to somebody, and you're making a commitment to it. And by being there on a consistent basis, they see that you're reliable, and that's a factor in trustworthiness as well. So don't just belong to organizations. Don't just belong to your church. Don't just belong to the PTA. Don't just belong to Kiwanis or AmSpirit Business Connections. Get involved. Get involved. Find a way to raise your level of exposure. Find a way to allow people to get to know you, allow people to get to like you, and allow people to get to trust you. From there, it's inevitable that your network will become more productive. To close the show, just a reminder, AmSpirit Business Connections has a unique franchise opportunity that involves helping small business professionals become more successful through a referral-based networking program. It only involves a couple hours a day, a few days a week, and would be a great franchise for an attorney, accountant, realtor, business coach, consultant, or many others to add on to what they're already doing, helping them not only grow a franchise business, but helping them get better at networking, as well as building the businesses that they already have. Why just be in a business network when you can own the business network? If you or someone you know would like to learn more, please contact me using the email either in the show notes or the one we provide at the end of this podcast.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.